Hi, thanks for joining the show today. I have a guest with me who you may be familiar with from a couple of tours. The very first Don't Wait Project tour, I met Heather and her family in Colorado after I'd written about them in a feature story for Colorado Magazine that I write for and edit. And then my second tour in 2019 took me to the South where they had relocated to Texas. We're going to talk more about that story and transition. But I'm always watching her on Instagram. She has quite the following, a lot of supporters, and always up to something new and exciting. So I've been paying attention for the last year or so, watching her growth and her transition, and I thought a lot of you would benefit from hearing her story. So thanks for being here, Heather. Welcome back to the show.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thanks for having me.
This is the first time we've done it not in person.
Right, I know.
That's the technology, I guess, right?
Yeah. Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Let's go back a little bit to when I wrote about your feature story in the magazine. This was a few years ago. You lived in this gigantic house in this very prominent neighborhood in Colorado. And that's where I met you and got so inspired, first of all, from all your design ideas and what your house looked like. But you weren't feeling it then. You were feeling like you needed to make some transition. So just kind of let us know where you were at that point in your story.
Yeah. So yes, 2000, I think it was like 17, 18-ish. Yeah, I mean, my husband and I had saved up and had this dream of building our dream house forever. And, that was kind of just like the arrival, right? And I think a lot of people do that. They just have this ultimate dream. And anyway, it unfolded for us. We moved into this beautiful, beautiful home. It took us 2 years to design, and it was just gorgeous. But as I moved into it, I kind of realized that my identity had actually become really wrapped up in it. And I had created this amazing following on Instagram, like you said. And I was getting featured in a lot of magazines, and I was, we were pitched for HGTV several times. And it was just this really fun adventure. But the reality was actually inside, I felt really empty. And I was about to hit 40.
Anything that you were living was your calling, right? It turned into something outside of what you thought it would or what you were trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just kind of came to a point where I was like, I'm super productive. I was giving it my all. I was hustling. I was doing all the things, and I was getting all the gigs and doing all the things, but my soul and my spirit were just like, I just kept hearing God talk to me and say, like, you're made for more. Like, you're just, I have things in store for you that you are not unlocking. But I had planned my life out. I had made this whole plan and did this whole thing.
How long had you and Joe been married?
Probably 13 years by now.
And you have kids, and
we have 4 kids. Yeah.
He was a dentist, thriving in his practice, had his career. So as an outside looking in, for me, as someone who followed you on Instagram, once I was introduced to you through the magazine, I mean, I was thinking, boy, I want a house like hers. I want my wall to look like that. And, I mean, just the things from the outside looking in.
Right.
And when I met you both in Colorado, your brother was ill.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a big kind of thing that was working in your soul as well?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we had moved in, and I had just kind of realized, like, oh my gosh, I planned this whole life, and there was just something inside of me that was like, you are just made for something else. And then I got a call from my brother. My little brother is 18 months younger than me, that he has stage 4 cancer, and he was only going to live for 6 more months. And when you get a call like that, that really is just like, it forces you into really a huge awakening. And, you know, I was already at a really low point. I was kind of going through like a midlife crisis, to be honest with you. I was about to hit 40, and I had just realized that my life, the only thing that I had were these accolades and these like beautiful house. And it just, I personally didn't know what my purpose still was, you know? So I had all these things, these things, but I didn't have anything inside of me, you know? And so, yes, my brother got diagnosed. That was just like gut wrenching. It forced me to think of just like, wow, that could have been me. What if that was me? Like, am I ready to die? Like, it just so many questions that it raises. And just watching him live out his last 6 months as well, being with him, having conversations with him, it just really opens your eyes. And
It's supposed to, right? I mean,
yeah,
we're supposed to be awakened by something like that. Not everyone is, so good on you for heeding that call.
I was so grateful for the experience. Obviously, it was tragic and heartbreaking, but definitely a huge pivot point in my life. And so, yeah, I told my husband, I said, well, and at this point, we'd only lived in the house not even a year. I said, I can't do this anymore. I was like, you know, from the outside, everybody thinks our life is perfect, and I'm putting on this like facade. And actually, I knew that I was having an influence on people's lives. And I think that's probably what got me the most. Was I was like, oh my gosh, here God put these people in my life, and I'm supposed to have an influence on them. What am I influencing them to do? And how am I influencing them? And I did not want them to get on my Instagram or to get wherever they saw me and their first thought be jealousy, or their first thought be, oh, I'm not as good as her, or my house isn't as pretty as hers, or I did not want the comparison. That was just not what I wanted to influence people for, you know? And I just kept getting this influence for good, Heather, influence for good. And I was like, we got to shut this whole thing down.
Okay, let's take a quick break. Let's take a quick break, because that was one of the things that you shared with me when we did our interview about how you were about to shut it down big time. So let's take a break. We're here with Heather Widdison, and if you want to follow her on Instagram now, you'll get a whole different kind of experience. It's Social Light, L-I-G-H-T, which I like. So we'll be back in just a moment with more with Heather. We're back with Heather Widdison. She's coming to us from Austin, Texas, where I last saw you. We were talking in the first segment about how you were going through some big changes. You're about to shut down your whole life and go in a different direction. And that's when I met you. You were about to go from this. How big was your house?
Oh, I'm so embarrassed to even say. It was almost 8,000 square feet. Yeah.
And then you went down. Your daughter took me on a tour of your house when I got there. It was fun. And then you went down to, I think it was less than 500 square feet or 300, 250. I don't know what it was. Yeah. It was still beautiful. I think it's okay to want your space to be beautiful. No, you just wanted less space. So tell us about that. You sold the house that you spent all this year, the 2 years building, and a year only living in it. What was Joe's reaction, your husband's reaction, when you told him I'm out, I'm tapping out of this house?
Right. You know, gosh, I think we were in a similar place. You know, when you build a house, you get bigger things, you get more stuff, have a higher mortgage, and you work more. And so he was starting to have to work more, and our family was starting to fall apart. Our marriage was starting to fall apart. And I think we were just realizing like, oh crap, more does not mean better. You know, bigger is not better. And he was realizing that as well. Of course, he was really sad, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we spent all this time and money and effort and all of this the past, you know, few years, and this was such a huge dream. But he saw me going through this whole thing, and luckily he's just amazing. And he was just like, you know, like, you're more important to me than this house. And he just saw me really, really struggling. I think very much in my identity. And I think he could also tell that he's like, Heather, I know that you're called for more. I know, just like, that's why I married you. Like, I can see something in you, and I know that you're not living into that. And so I get it. I get why you want to do this.
Now, when you planned to sell the house, you also got the RV, and you'd planned to travel for about a year with the kids in tow and the dog and the whole thing, and volunteer for Habitat for Humanity, use those talents in a good way. And then when I met up with you in Austin, that didn't come to complete fruition. And you were now in a house that you'd bought and renovated. Beautiful, good. I mean, just the vision that you have for a place is just really outstanding, incredible. I mean, that's a gift. That's a gift, and that's a talent, and you use it well. So I don't want to take away from that, because that's part of who you are. So I met you when you were in the new house as well. We sat down for our second interview, and by then a lot had changed. So what had changed from when I saw you? I know you'd lost your brother, and that was very difficult. And I think when I found you there, you were in this place of really kind of trying to figure out your next move, which I think a lot of people are going through. I feel like I'm going through that quite a bit right now. Like, the things you've been doing are going to change to get more in line with the other things that you want to do in your life. That's where I found you in Austin.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, we had, you know, once again, we had planned our whole life out, right? We went from one plan to a whole new plan. And God was like, no, no, no. You need to take a step back, and I'm going to lead your life now. And so that was a huge shocker. We were on the road for 4 months, and we got a call from, I had put my kids in a charter school, and they had this year-long wait list. So we're like, oh, great, we'll just travel while, you know, they're on the wait list. Well, we were up in Washington State about to go do the whole East Coast and the rest of the whole US over the next 9 months. And we get a call from their school, and they said, oh, by the way, your son actually got accepted. And he was going into high school. And we were like, oh my gosh, what? You know, we have this all planned. And by this point, we had actually purchased property in Austin, and we had taken a lot of our stuff there. And it was just sitting there. And I was kind of having anxiety about it too. I was like, gosh, I really want to kind of get back to the house and renovate it. And I am kind of feeling like we got this road trip thing out of our system.
Yeah, once you're done, you're done. Yeah.
Yes. And my kids were just not having homeschool. And it was just a lot more difficult, honestly, than I thought it was going to be. And so, but you know, we had this beautiful time together, and I cherish it. And we all just love this time. And so we got the call from the school, and we talked to him, and we're like, Cooper, what do you want to do? Do you want to keep going? And he's like, Mom, I'm going into high school. Like, I really want to make friends. And another thing was that if we said no, he got put to the bottom of the list, and we had to wait a whole nother year, like, for sure. And so we just prayed about it, and they're like, well, we need to know within 24 hours, and school starts in 2 days. And we're just like, oh my gosh. So, you know, we really prayed about it. We talked with our kids about it, and we decided to actually move to Austin. put them in school. They all really wanted to go to school and meet kids. We had been a family of 6 in this little tiny trailer for like 4 months, and I think they just wanted some socialization. They're like, we want to go to school.
Besides all of you, I mean, you meet some really fun, fantastic folks on the road in our networks and all that, but it's nothing like kind of feeling anchored,
Yes, for sure. And we had, before this, we had moved around a lot. And so I think my kids just really were craving stability.
Okay, let's take a break. Let's take one quick break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about what you're up to now.
Awesome.
Light, L-I-G-H-T. I love that. And the work you're doing in the world now that feels much more like your purpose. But still, with your lovely wall behind you and the lovely home in Austin that you've renovated that I've been a guest in, it's fabulous. We'll be back in just a moment. We're back with Heather Widdison. She is coming to us on the show from Austin, Texas. We've been talking about the transition that you've made, Heather, over the last few years since we first met. When I met you, when I did a feature story about you in a magazine, and then I met you in person in Colorado when I was on the 2018 Don't Wait Project tour, interviewed you and your family again in 2019 once you'd made the move to Austin. And you said to me then, I can't quite tell you anything yet, but I've got some things brewing that I think is going to get me closer to where I want to be. So let's skip ahead to that and all the things that you went through to get to this point, through lots of prayer and lots of preparation and lots of kind of slowing down your own life and starting to listen. Let's talk about what it is you're doing now and just briefly how you came to it.
Right. Yes. I love this question. It's so loaded, but I love it. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think I just continued to plan out my life. And I think God just continued to strip things away, and refine me and say, Heather, like, no, this is just, you need to stop planning your life and you need to just sit and rest in me and slow down. And that's really, really, really hard for me. And so I just, over the past really 2 years, but specifically the past 1 year, I have just really tried to do that. And it's just amazing what happens when you stop and actually listen. I just realized that I don't know. It's just such a beautiful refining process. And you just hear so much more clearly when you actually stop your life and just rest in God and start to really take in everything that He's kind of already told you and promised you, and really start to kind of grasp the things that He promises us already, right? And so that's where I've been the past, couple years, and it's been so different than I would ever even imagine, but it's been phenomenal.
Well, I'm looking at your Instagram screen here right now, Heather Widdison Social Light, L-I-G-H-T, and you talk about the spiritual health coaching and simple steps to shine. Like that's where the light comes from. Right. And so tell us a bit about the work you're doing and how anyone watching might be impacted by the work you're doing.
Yeah, so I've always really been into health, and specifically like body, spirit, and soul. And really just tying all three of those together and making for sure that each one of those elements is really healthy. And so I became a health coach and decided that I really wanted to put a spiritual spin on it, because I think a lot of people are stuck. And I think a lot of people also don't realize that a lot of their purpose and their calling and where they're feeling empty does come from a lack of spirituality in their life, or a lack of maybe a connection with God. And so I have just been diving into that very heavily the past couple years. And yeah, I mean, I have a podcast coming out called The Social Lights. It's actually me and my friend. And we have a YouTube channel, The Social Lights. And we are actually going to be doing lots and lots of different series on specific words that we can move through. And we're going to be doing workouts that to worship music while I'm actually preaching a sermon during these workouts.
Wow,
And
that's interesting.
yeah, it's very different, but very uplifting, you know, and just like I said, bringing kind of all three of those elements together, and helping people realize that they all work together. And that's where we're going to find balance. That's where we're going to find wholeness. That's where we're going to find the peace and our true calling and our true identity, when all three of those things come together and they really align with not only each other, but with God and the gifts that He's really blessed us with. So, yeah.
And so now that you're in that place, does it feel like your longing has changed? Like now you have the focus. I think sometimes, I know for myself, I have so many passions, and raising my son on my own, my goal was always to figure out how to live a passionate life, feed my kid, feed my soul, and be home when he got home from school at 3:00 every day. And so I have these buckets of passion that I figure out how to earn a living at. And then some of those are more fulfilling than others. So now that you're in this place where you have figured out a way to help people live your passion and earn a living, do you feel that peace? Do you feel like you're in the right place when you start your day each day?
Right. 100%. For the first time in my life. 1000%. Yes. And you know, it's not always easy. And I feel like God has called me to do a lot of things outside my comfort zone. And, you know, this is really just a season where I've had to lean 100% on Him and say, you know what, I honestly don't have that capacity, God. Like, I know that I can't do that on my own. I know that I physically can't do that. I know that I mentally can't do that. And so He has had me really, really, He's calling me to these big things, and I'm writing a book right now, which I've never done. So just calling me to do so many things out of my comfort zone. But in doing so, that is making me lean on Him and depend on Him like 100%. Whereas before I was like, okay, this is my plan for my life. I'm going to depend on myself because I know I can do this. And God was always just like out in the, you know, up in the sky or whatever. He was just never part of the plan because I could do it all on my own. And so it's just been this beautiful reconnection with Him, and really just such an awakening and eye-opening experience that is just truly so fulfilling and so joyful that there's just nothing that even compares to it.
Well, I'm super happy to share your transition and share it with the audience. People can find you on Instagram, Social Light, and Social Lights on YouTube, and then you have a podcast launching. So make sure you check it out. I'm honored to be part of helping share your story. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Lisa, so much. Thank you.
Take good care.